Breaker, breaker. We got a 2022 GMC Hummer with a very interesting paint job, speeding down a residential road. I clock him going about 90 over the limit. I'm gonna pull him over. Over. Naz Reid. Where do I begin? My glorious king. My beautiful baby boy. Thank you for everything you did for the Timberwolves. I will never forget you. On a team that has consistently spiked my blood pressure for years, you are almost never the culprit of that. Thank you for being a pro's pro. I will always. I'll always remember you. Naz Reid and a handful of picks has been traded for LaMelo Ball. And Josh Green. Don't forget about him. And honestly, I'm just done trying to assess the moves that the Wolves make. I really liked acquiring Jimmy. I didn't mind trading Jimmy. I was a huge fan of the Jarrett Culver pick. I was okay with the Gobert trade, then I hated it after the first season, loved it after the second season, and now my opinion changes every single day. Because on the one hand, he's a legendary defender who has transformed this franchise, but on the other hand, he can't catch a basketball. And I'll be honest, I loved the cat trade. Now, I do still stand on the fact that that was the right move to make, but I also understand that's a hard argument now that the Knicks just won the championship. But I'll talk about that later. For now, let me just say, I respect the Wolves for trying. The Sixers tried with Embiid. You could have a lot of gripes with the rosters they built, but they tried. The Suns tried with Booker. I can respect the team for trying because Minnesota has hopefully learned from their time with KG that when you have this level of player, there shouldn't be a gap year. And there especially shouldn't be gap years. If the Wolves don't make this trade, they have nothing going for them next season. They gave up Randall for nothing. Dante is probably out the whole year. Getting LaMelo at least gives you a chance. We're not contenders. I'm not even going to try to convince myself that we are. But it should still be a playoff team, and there's always value in making the playoffs, especially a team who has basically no draft capital left. And who knows, maybe you'll get a 2018 Raptors sort of situation where you keep making the playoffs for years until a golden opportunity pops up. Sometimes as a GM, you just gotta have some fuck it in your bucket, and that's what Tim Connolly has. Give it a shot. I know that's not the ideal thing to say about the trade, but I honestly just don't know how to feel. But for the sake of trying to be analytical and actually, be a YouTuber, I think the ceiling of this team is a lot better than its floor. Well, obviously, the ceiling is always better than the floor. I think the ceiling is pretty great, and I don't worry too much about the floor. Even though a decent amount of draft capital was given up, I don't think this will blow up in our faces. I could hear the argument that the Hornets finessed and they sold high on LaMelo, because last year was his first healthy season since his sophomore year. Maybe him playing 72 games last year was just lightning in a bottle. And have you ever heard that saying that the idea of said player is better than said player? I actually think it's the opposite for LaMelo. Just hear me out on this. I feel like when LaMelo gets brought up, people gravitate towards bad qualities, and I'm not saying he doesn't have those, but he's actually got a really good assist to turnover ratio. Yes, his field goal percent is low, but the amount of threes he's taking and the level of difficulty, I guess you could argue that as one of his flaws. But hopefully in a new offense he can work on that. It's not unmanageable. Eesh, that's not a good word. And the most important aspect, do we remember what the Hornets offense looked like last year? We're talking all-time offense. Now, obviously, stats can be misleading, but it came with a lot of wins as well. They did have the offensive talent around LaMelo, specifically Concanepple, but LaMelo was the catalyst of it, plain and simple. And for a team who struggles offensively, for a team who hasn't had a star point guard since Sam Cassell, I guess D'Lo did have his moments, and LaMelo is 4 years removed from his All-Star game, whereas D'Lo was only like 2. But nevertheless, we have a true, legit point guard, and I'm very happy about that. How can I not be happy when my team fixes its greatest deficiency? And as selfish as this is, it gets to a point where I just say, forget those future picks. I wasn't looking forward to watching this Wolves team next year. And now I am. And now I am. It's so weird to think that Nas was our longest tenured Timberwolf. This man played with Jeff Teague, Robert Covington, Andrew Wiggins, Trevion Graham, Gorgie Zhang, Wolves legends. He's been here for a while. He's come a long way. And I'm so grateful he didn't leave us to sign with the Nets in the offseason. Now at least we got value for him. Oh, here I am re-recording because I mentioned the cat trade, said I'd talk about it, and I didn't. So I'm just a liar. But yeah, looking back on that trade, because these are still the repercussions of it, trading Cat was to save money, allowed us to hold on to Nas, flipping Randall as well, save money, and now we've traded for LaMelo. The Knicks won a championship. There is no comeback to that. But man, am I getting tired of people rewriting history. Y'all were out on Cat. Out! And I don't blame you. You were very out on him after that Dallas series. We lost in 5 and got destroyed in that closeout game, by the way, to a Mavs team that, as fun as they were, weren't exactly some dominant team. We weren't some like, hey, I understand losing to the 2024 Mavs. No, if we're losing in 5 to that Mavs team, we're not going to win a championship. The way people talk, you would think this team was one win away from the championship, then got Randall, and missed the playoffs. We got just as far with Julius as we did with Cat. And that was losing in 5 to a much better team. Yes, I know OKC lost to Dallas in 2024, but that was a very different team, okay? They had Josh Giddey. Point is, we keep Cat, we're running it back with the same core that isn't going to get anything done. Instead, had just as much success, and then came into next season, had some very unfortunate injury luck in these playoffs, but still beat Denver in one of the most valiant efforts I've ever seen from a team. We definitely weren't winning the championship, but we didn't even really have a fair shot against San Antonio. Cat played his role tremendously in these playoffs. I'm not going to pretend like I thought he had this in him, but it's also important to realize that he has a luxury playing on that team, that he can drop the absolute stinker that he dropped in Game 5 of the finals, and no one's going to remember it. Your lows look a lot worse and are a lot more memorable when you're not winning these games. That's it, though. I'm definitely not one of those delusional Wolves fans who, oh, I don't care. I care. It stung watching Wiggins leave and win a championship, Cat leave and win a championship, Jeff Teague leave and win a championship. Not to say I was unhappy for those guys, but man, we drafted them. Well, technically we didn't draft Wiggins, but whatever. Okay, I'm in a very fragile state right now. I don't need to be corrected. I don't know where I'm going to implement this into the video, so smooth transition. And just to throw in some fun historical facts in here, I have to have at least one every video. My mind immediately went to that 2020 Rookie of the Year voting, where LaMelo won, Ant 2, and now they're teammates. So I wanted to see how often has that happened, where the top 2 Rookie of the Year finishers ended up playing on the same team. It's happened 8 times before this, and you know what? Those duos have been surprisingly successful. We're going to start off at the bottom, where Mark Jackson and Kenny Smith actually crossed paths for 10 games in Denver. Then a slight step up, although still not great, when LeBron and Melo played together in 2022. Then we move a step up to Patrick Ewing and Xavier McDaniel in 1992, when they were 1 game away from beating the Bulls. And now every team from here on out made the conference finals. Vince Carter and White Chocolate in Orlando, Damon Stoudemire and Arvydas Sabonis in Portland, Shaq and Alonzo Mourning, who won a championship together in 06, Earl Monroe and Bill Bradley, Senator Bill Bradley, who won a championship together with the Knicks, and finally, the ultimate duo of this list, Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes, who won MVP and led the league in scoring, respectively, in their rookie years. You're a fraud, Spider-Man! Obviously joined forces in Baltimore and DC. 3 finals appearances, 1 championship. Pretty great if you ask me. Anyways, obviously that doesn't prove anything about the future, but I just thought it was fun, okay? LaMelo and Ant in the same locker room. Oh boy, this should be fun. Forget Tony Danza, I'm the boss. When it comes to money, I'm like Dick DeVos. Now who's the first pick me word is born in? It's not a Christian Laettner. It's not Alonzo Mourning, but that's okay not being braggadocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.